your native land. Nice to have you back, Donald.
Sure.
Cool, isn't it? As you said, beautifully filmed. This is actually making me think a little bit. It's more like Monarch of the Glen meets Whiskey Galore, except there's no smuggling involved. You know, it's
Right.
What were your initial responses?
Do you know a movie called Angel's Share?
I don't.
It's another one. It's very similar. It's a Scottish distillery. Apparently, the Angel's Share is you put a gallon of scotch in a barrel, and when you take it out 5 years later, it's less than a barrel, less than a gallon. And that part that's evaporated is called the Angel's Share. It goes to the angels,
Right.
and they make the whiskey for you. So anyway, the movie is similar in that there's a distillery. It's going out of business. The people buy it, if I'm remembering correctly. Anyway, it works out. It works out well in the end. There's a romance and all of that, and so in that sense, it's similar. But on the other hand, what struck me about this that was really different, and in that and here it actually reminded me of. Do you know Bill Forsyth's Local Hero? Going way back, I think it's Burt Lancaster who plays the part, but this is much more a character study.
Yes.
Here, I don't want to say that the whiskey and the distillery is incidental, but this is a family drama. These people have really difficult relationships intergenerationally, and they're trying to solve those problems. And none of it is easy, and all of it is very realistic in terms of who's hurt and who's healed and all of that. I mean, it has a happy ending, which is, convenient.
My wee brother, it's been nearly 40 years since you left for America. So, you came then? Did you have to march him to the airport at gunpoint?
I don't know what happened between you two. This is a great opportunity for you guys to clean all this up.
But all the way through, it also reminded me of, there was a movie, The Great Santini, which is it's Robert Duvall and his father. So this is a father-son thing, right?
Yeah, in an interesting way, because the father is not actually present except in his memories, which keep
We
keeping
we see him once in a while show up.
Yeah.
But the Robert Duvall is it's this military thing of the father not the son not living up to the father's expectations, and that's what's going on here.
Yes.
The father's unreasonable. He's unavailable.
Yep.
He can't connect emotionally.
Yep.
And he can't communicate well.
He can't communicate at all. This is
it's a triple whammy.
And it's kind of that the son, Donald, the youngest son, is still living in a kind of post-trauma existence, or limbo in a sense. So he's been in limbo now for, what was it they said, 30 years he's been in America?
Yeah. And actually, one of the things that I liked about it is that when it starts out, I kind of liked him. And as it went on and on, I realized, wow, this guy's really a jerk. Like the fact that he leaves the woman and never says goodbye and never writes her a letter. And I mean, it's not her fault. She's just, collateral damage in this.
Yeah, she's picked up the pieces over and over again because she's picked up.
I mean, there were better ways for him to have solved this with his brother and his father.
Yeah, they could have been possibly, but then he's still struggling with the trauma. So it's like, because there's that line when they're saying, oh, some people can really bear a grudge, for 40 years or whatever it is. And I thought, but it's not a grudge. He's been struggling. Like he's been struggling with this traumatic experience because he's lost his mother, very young, obviously. He cannot communicate because the father cannot communicate, basically. So that makes it very difficult with the teenage son to, get anywhere. And it's and the fury and the angst of what you basically he's blaming the father for the mother's early demise.
Yeah, and the father's blaming him.
There's all of this going on. So he goes where he knows he can have a chance of getting a life, because it's everything is being sucked into this. rather horrific sort of, he's chained to the distillery because he is actually a blender. He has a skill. They suggest, don't they?
Yeah.
That,
Oh, yeah. He's supposed to be really good at it. Yeah.
but then it sort of gets a bit twisted. Like, he throws it away because everything connected with the distillery is bad memories for him. He
Yeah.
doesn't have that many wonderful memories. They all get a bit tainted, don't they? I mean, the whole film is sort of laced with memories that are.
Yeah.
They sort of
Yeah.
start off, they look happy, and then, oh, but then there's the father, or then this happens, or that happens. There's
Decided to resign as chairman of the distillery. My brother will take over the reins. What?
It's a very gentle balance. I mean, it's a very restful film, I
Yeah.
found.
Yeah. In the middle,
How
I
did you
would
feel?
agree. Yeah.
Did you find it restful?
There's certainly moments of it, and I think you're right. I think it uses the past really well. One of the things I noticed is, and we're talking about character arcs, where I think the main character starts out likable, and then the more you learn about him, the more you realize he's problematic. Is the brother is actually a pretty nice character, even
Yeah.
though when we meet him, we don't like him. Our
He
initial
seems, he
reaction to him
seems,
is, "Oh, he's the curmudgeon," and in fact,
yeah, he
he's
seems
he's
grumpy.
really the sweetheart.
He is.
You know, so
He's
there's
been
a kind
keeping
of
going.
a kind of an X movement where the one character goes from good to bad, and the one character goes from bad to good. And in terms of audience, I mean, they are the same, but the way that the audience perceives them shifts radically and reverses. And I always really like that.
Yeah, and also like that it's not too much one way or the other. That they
Right.
are allowed to be somewhere in the middle, but they have these aspects. The older brother has shouldered his responsibilities and maybe overcompensated in
Yeah,
that.
he's not perfect either, but
Yeah, but he's been a bit more. How does the younger brother put it out? He's always been trustworthy. You could trust him, couldn't you?
yeah.
And then, whereas you sort of gradually sort of discover that the younger brother, well, he doesn't know what he wants, and so everything about him becomes uncertain, doesn't it? The only thing he's actually certain about is the club, but even there, he can't keep it because he
Well, yeah,
forgets.
he can't pay the rent, the
Well, no, it's
insurance.
not that. It's the insurance policy. He didn't keep it up,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it gets burnt down. And it's odd because it was I kind of thought, oh, just as just from certain expressions on his face, occasionally think, ah, there is a problem. There is no insurance, because the daughter is happily saying, but it'll be fine, it'll be
Yeah, of
fine.
course, it's no big deal. You just fix it, right?
And
Uh,
something sort of tells you from his expression that no, there's something not quite there entirely. And then it's sort of the cracks start to appear very slowly as you go along. Yeah.
This is not for me.
It's your birthright.
I'm sorry, Sandy.
Then you leave me no choice but to sell.
This distillery is the heart of this village. This whiskey is these people. You sell it to some outsider, and who knows what will happen.
Nothing will change.
there were a couple of quotes that I wrote down from the dialogue that I thought were particularly good. There's one that the main character says they're looking at the Scottish landscape, which is photographed beautifully and makes me want to go back and visit. um, but he says there was a time when this was more than enough. And there's that's what also reminded me of Local Hero, because in Local Hero he's living in Texas, and then he moves to Scotland and
Yeah.
with and falls in love with this woman
Yeah.
and stays there. And here it's the same thing, right? Except that he is Scottish, but he leaves Chicago and reestablishes this relationship. So the idea here is there was a time when this was more than enough. And my question immediately was what happened, and of course that's what the movie is about.
Yes, and they do very gradually unpack that. As you say, your perceptions begin to shift, and you start to realize, yeah, there's it's not everything is as it appears at
He,
first.
he he also says, "I don't know where I belong," which I thought was kind of nice.
Much,
Belonging is geographical, but it's also psychical.
yeah,
Like you have to be comfortable with yourself, and you have to be comfortable with either with your partner or with your community, or it can be portable, right? You can take that with you, and it isn't always geographical, but he's out of sorts all the way through.
Yeah.
Although he does, his daughter is really sweet.
Yeah,
Really good
yeah. I mean,
character.
there was some lovely characterizations, and she. It's interesting that whole geographical positioning because his daughter and granddaughter, they're the ones who clearly have been going to Scotland every
Yeah,
year.
yeah. And
He
she says
doesn't.
something like, "Oh, I love it here. I want to be here." And it's so like again, there's a lot of reversals in the movie. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
she's the American Chicago girl who wants to be in Chicago in Scotland.
But she's the painter. She's the artist.
Yeah,
She's developed her little studio there, and she sings. And there's that lovely duo they do at the beginning,
yeah.
the blues singing.
And there's a couple of
Really pretty.
nice songs. When he sings at the end, it's quite good.
No, I mean there's a lots of there's musical moments in there too, and it's not overdone. It's just there.
There's also a comment that he makes, and he says, "I'm a liability," and the response, and I'm not the the woman who ends up taking over at the end says to him, "We all make mistakes." Well, maybe it's the brothers. Anyway, the line is, "We all make mistakes. It's how we handle them that counts."
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
I thought that was true because in some ways that's what this whole movie is about. Almost all of these people, all of the adults, have made mistakes. The
Mm.
father, the brothers, and they now need to solve the problems that they themselves have created. And there's a lot of innocent people who've been hurt by this. The daughter, the girlfriend, and they have to heal that in some way.
Even the whole village because it's so dependent on the distillery.
Yeah.
Everything will bloody change.
I used to work here fixing things. Now I'm better at breaking them.
You're a devious wee bugger, Donal. Getting the distillery valued behind my back.
We all make mistakes, Dad. It's how we handle it that counts.
Oh, you came back all right. But it wasn't for me.
Too old for this!
Says him!
This was described as a love letter to Scotland because there's, as you say, beautiful filming.
Oh yeah, the pub scenes and the community and the
And then
people. Everybody's delightful, and
and then in the end, the other key protagonist is whiskey. Whiskey is king.
yeah, yeah,
A lot of it is, it's not just about the distillery, but it's the power that whiskey has as the kind of new gold, the liquid
yeah,
gold. So that plays in at the end, especially. But it's also very much, it's running through the whole film about who they are. They're the blenders, the distillers, how the
yeah,
power gets shifted around, who becomes the master distiller in the end, and that kind of there's that playing into it.
yeah. And I have to say, one thing that struck me is that there's a lot of drinking in the movie, but
Is
there's very little drunkenness. You can tell that what they're drinking is so incredibly wonderful that you taste it.
You treat it with
And
respect.
yeah, and I thought that was
It's a
noticeable.
nice, yeah, that is a nice key point. It's kind of a Highland fairy tale,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought. It has a feel of a retelling of legends.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably true. The son goes away, has adventures, comes back.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a hero's journey, isn't it?
Yeah. But the
Obstacles.
woman that he comes back, is the one that kind of heals everything. That solves the problem, right? I mean, in the
Kind of.
terms emotionally, I don't mean plot wise, but I mean she's the one who by yelling at him, he figures it out. It's like, okay, look, I've really like the breakthrough emotional moment for him is his confrontation with her.
And also, interestingly, she has been holding a lot of it together because she
Yeah.
has been the sort of aide de camp, the right-hand man of or woman of the older brother for running the actual distillery. So, I mean, she's very important in that sense.
Yeah.
That like a support system.
Yeah. The movie isn't exactly clear. The motorcycle has been repaired,
Yeah.
and I can't tell if it's the brother and or her who have done this.
I thought it was the older brother.
Yeah, me too. And see, that's there. I think again, his complexity. That's a really nice thing to do.
It kind
In
of
some
it
ways, he knows
underlines.
his brother better than his brother knows himself.
Yeah, it
His
sort of
his younger
it
brother.
emphasizes the longing, that brother, where
Yeah,
art thou? Come
yeah,
back, come back. There's a kind of
yeah.
mournful little note there, I think.
There is a comment that's made either it's about the father, and I don't know if the father says it or if it's in a conversation about him. But the kind of line is that there's duty, and then following your duty leads to your fate, and then fate leads to your duty. So there's this circular thing, and if you look at because isn't it on the father's tombstone? It says something like he did his duty.
Duty was his life.
Yeah, see, and that's a really interesting kind of issue of like, what are our responsibilities to the community, to ourselves, and are there ways that we use duty in a narrow sense that becomes self-defeating for emotional happiness and social happiness in the
Yeah,
broader sense?
yeah. And is duty sometimes used as an excuse for not doing
Yeah,
other things,
yeah,
which are equally
yeah,
important? Yeah. No, it's the older brother who is talking about. Yeah. And
yeah,
they do come to a kind of agreement that maybe he should have done something else with his life.
yeah.
Sort of not miss out on other things as well. It's
And
a
then
lot of
blame other people for your own decision. Like, I didn't
yeah,
do this, or I did or didn't do this, and it made me unhappy, and it's your fault.
yeah. I did it for you. I did it for
I wish I could have stayed. I don't think any of us realized how much you sacrificed. I know I didn't. Be careful with time. It can creep up on you.
Brian Cox's editorial debut with this tense drama about family and forgiveness. Did you find there was tension?
You know what? It's kind of interesting. What it reminded me of, is it Osborne, the Angry Young Men? There's a
All right.
moment in the late in the 50s and early 60s where we get what people would call kitchen table drama. Reginald Rose does some of these, and there's this idea of the family, and it's around the kitchen table, and there's these problems, and I mean, Long Day's Journey into Night is this kind of thing too. And I guess I felt, I mean, that's more like a serious tragedy, but I guess that it did remind me of that. Like, this would be a good movie even if you took the whiskey. If you took him out of a distillery and put him on a farm, it's still a good movie because what
Essentially,
it's
have
really
that.
about is these people and their relationships, and the
Yes. Yeah.
distillery forms a background to that. And
Yeah.
I say that as a strength. I think that's you know. It's really quite strong dramatically, and the performances are really good. The
Yes.
acting is kind of all the way through. It's consistently quite good. The music, there's some nice music, nice scoring, cinematography's great, and I like the fact that it's set where it is. But this is a family story, and this is a character study,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's
Yeah. I
there's some
saw.
tense moments with him, like his father throwing him out. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
I think.
unresolved tension of him and his girlfriend early on, which they're both like hand grenades waiting to go off, and they don't until later.
I've missed you, Donal. Your family.
I
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
review from the Hollywood Reporter, I think, which gives a very, very fair coverage of it.
Oh, okay. I used to work for them
Oh,
years and years
wow.
ago. Yeah, I was their labor reporter, which is crazy.
Oh, great.
What did they say?
Set in his native Scotland and lovingly photographed, the film tantalizes, even without a terribly original story. Family conflicts ripple and get fairly predictably resolved, but the cast gallops right past the cliches.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's true. I don't know that it's as. I mean, it's a family story, so there's only so many permutations
There's
that have
a
started with
limit.
the Greeks. There's really not much you can
They
do about
told
it.
it all. We've been using the same
Yeah,
stories ever since. Then they said the outcome of that long-simmering family quarrel was never really in much doubt, but there are still a few neat surprises involving a couple of rare bottles of whiskey and the fate of two family businesses.
Yeah, I thought it was more original than that.
Yeah, yeah.
In
What
part
I like
because
is they make a nice praise of Brian Cox. It's a pleasure to see him at home in the Highlands, and as a director, he's predictably generous with his fellow actors.
yeah, I guess, you know, one of the things that struck me was the intensity of the brothers' reaction and the conflict with the father, what they're fighting about, and the intensity of their feelings to me seemed kind of new. It was different. It wasn't, you know, like you think about what kids and parents fight about. This really wasn't that. You know, this was, on the one hand, it was about, I don't want you, I believe in pure liquor. You know, Scotch should be a single blend, and you're saying it should be blended. And so there's that.
Yeah.
But that isn't really what it's all about. It's, you know, the father is obsessed with devoting himself to the things, and the son is saying, I'll do that, but I want something else. And I thought that was more complex than just, you know, the typical, you're going out with Sally and I don't like her. Well, in my house, you know, these are my rules. And it felt different than that. I mean, he never comes across as sympathetic, the father, but he's more sympathetic there than in other places.
As you say, it does make it different. It makes it new and interesting, that one. And I think they could happily have actually developed that further. Something to it that would have been interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, what the thing that the question that I had was, what was the father like before the mother dies? Because we do get a sense that the mother is protecting the child, so the father's already kind of a problem.
Yeah.
But in other words, you know, if you were telling the story from his point of view, he has his own, you know, sufferings.
Yeah, and does it get worse after? Which it seems it does.
And he is seeing the world through his own aggrieved, narrow viewpoint. So,
Yeah,
you know, he's certainly responsible for his own problems. But,
yeah,
you know, the more we knew about him, the more we would sympathize with him. And a little bit of that might have made it a tiny bit richer. Because I just think it's always richer to have.
Better late than never, eh? I've got a stew on the range, if you're in the mood. No rush. It'll keep. It's horrible. Truly horrible.